Hi everyone, we're going to go ahead and start. My name is Blanca Davila. I am the Director of Professional Education and Workforce Development with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. And I'm going to be co-presenting with our team here of program managers. So in a bit, I'll turn it over to them so they can introduce themselves to you all as we start the presentation. So today we're going to talk about practical project management. We only have 45 minutes, so we're going to talk about introductory concepts and very practical things that you can take away that you can do either in your business or at work for operational, but also for streamlining any type of business related things that you're working on right now. So before we start, if you can please scan the QR code to sign in so we know who showed up to our presentation and we can keep track of our attendees. So we do have a QR code. I'll give you guys 30 seconds or so. Thank you all. So before we start with the actual project management presentation, we do want to introduce who we are as a division, but also as an office with UT-RGV. As you can see, we call ourselves the Office of Workforce and Economic Development, and we're under the Division of Governmental and Community Relations. In this Office of Workforce and Economic Development, we call it OED for short. With UT-RGV, we have different centers here, and we have one of our co-centers present here, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So our department lives here. We are the Professional Education and Workforce Development Center. We do PEWD or PEWD, and we do continuing education, workforce development, customized trainings with the community, with different partners, internally with UT-RGV, but also externally with nonprofits, the industry partners, cities as well. So we're pretty versatile in that way that we could pretty much customize any type of training that you can think of. So that's who we are. Our sister departments, I'm sure you've heard of the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, where you can get free advisement with different business advisors depending on the type of business that you want to open up. They do have an office here in this center, but they also have an office in Harlingen, Wesco, Edinburgh, Far, at the island. So they're pretty widespread, different days of the week. And it's a great resource if you want to open a business because you get free advisement and business planning. If you don't already, I'm sure this is a very popular resource. We also have the Veterans Business Outreach Center, VBOC, and this is pretty much very similar to the SBDC, but it's mainly focused on veterans. They do get services, they service about 14 counties in South Texas, so it's a wide spread. But they're housed out of UT-RGV. We also have the Apex Accelerator, which we have a rep here. He just finished a presentation like not too long ago. And feel free to interrupt me if I describe it. It's advisement on government contracting, right? You want to add a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. All right, so I don't want to take too much of your time. So hi, I'm Marcus Davila with the UT-RGV Apex Accelerator Program. So any small business owner that's looking to do perhaps any contracting opportunities through federal, state, county, or city levels, we can definitely help you out in that regard. So everything contracting.
Yeah, and it's also free at no cost?
Yes, at no cost. No cost.
Yeah.
We can definitely help you out.
So they definitely help with capacity building. There are some very small businesses that want to do government contracting, and they can get some advisement and direction from this department here. And if you want more information, you can talk to Marcus here or visit their website. We also have the Entrepreneurship and Commercialization Center, which is part of eBridge. If you don't already know Linda and her team, they're housed out of here, but they do service the entire RGV. And they're very similar to the SBDC, but they're mainly entrepreneurial. They do Startup Week, they do different like Startup Texas, different programmings, and they work with different types of funders to help different types of businesses that are starting up out of eBridge, but also across the RGV and FAR, Mission. Now they're in Weslaco, but also Harlingen. And then the Data Information Center, this is a one-person department, and believe it or not, he covers the entire RGV, mainly working with municipalities and government entities across the RGV to provide economic data for decision-making for our municipalities and also within the university. You could think, or you can call it a data scientist of some sort that we have within our Office of Workforce and Economic Development. So all of this creates the regional ecosystem development, but just know that this is just one piece of a larger component of UTRGV. There are other departments and ecosystems like this one that connect, I don't know what I did. Move the mouse, oh, there, thank you. That connect to this regional ecosystem like up here and up here. So today, well, we're gonna talk about what we do a little bit and one of the programs that we offer in our department. So before we dive in, I introduced myself, so I'll turn it over to Claudia so she can give a brief intro.
I was instructed to use this for, for our audience who is watching the live stream. So hi everyone, it's very nice to meet you. I love being here and getting to know each of you later on. My name is Claudia Garcia. I'm a program manager for professional education and workforce development. In my role, I oversee continuing education programs as well as customized trainings for workforce with different partners across the Rio Grande Valley, from nonprofit organizations to education to manufacturing, health, just different industries. In over 20 years of work experience, I've had the fortune of managing different programs and projects in different industries that include advertising, consumer goods, and higher education. So thank you again.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Erika Carrizales. I'm one of the 3 program managers. It's a pleasure being here. Our team is excited to share a little bit of what we've learned in the past year and a half, 2, working with programs. Blanca is going to share a little bit about the type of programs that we do, a quick overview. We're excited. My experience with programs is mainly on the higher ed. I've been with the university for 10+ years, started as a student and transitioned into full-time staff. And right now I'm leading English as a second language programs and continuing ed programs, some of the continuing ed, and customized training. So if you ever need any type of customized training, reach out.
Alrighty, good afternoon everyone. My name is Jake Gonzalez. I'm one of the other program managers with Professional Education and Workforce Development. We call it PEWD for short. UTRGV does have a lot of long department names, so we like to use acronyms. So anytime you're looking for us, it's PEWD. My role with the department, I oversee the marketing and communications and outreach. So I promote the programs that we offer, whether it's continuing education, workforce development, or the English language programs. You can find us anywhere on social media. We do have a digital newsletter that we promote our courses through. Any type of print media or anything like that, we always cover. But really that's the main role for me, as well as overseeing the marketing courses that we do offer with our department. But yeah, that's mainly my role. Social media, marketing, digital marketing, all that good stuff. So anything PEWD you see, it's because of us. So thank you.
Thank you. And quick plug-in, tomorrow we'll be at the Weslaco CAC. We'll be doing another session for marketing for small businesses if you're interested. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So now our mission, just to reiterate everything that we've discussed, is to create relevant and accessible high-quality education, industry-specific workforce development programs, and immersive language instruction. So this piece here is very important to us, industry-specific. And obviously the quality education. Every time we put a program together for our business owners or our partners or industry partners, we ensure that we bring the best instructors, curriculum, and also logistics and planning to the table. So our programs, we talked about customized trainings, we do that. We do offer 50+ program offerings, and they're all in these icons here in our website. We do have 3 modalities: in person, which is the most popular, online, and then hybrid, which is both online and in person. We do not have financial aid for financial assistance, but we do have private loans available since we are on the non-academic side of the university. Academic side is a 4-year degree. We are non-academic, it's mainly professional development and workforce development. So anything that you may be interested in, leadership, legal, our paralegal courses are very popular. Our English language programs, we have about 40 international students from all over the world, mainly from Latin America, but we do have from Asia and the Middle East in our facilities. We have health courses, we have IT courses, leadership management, which these are also very popular. We do have online and in-person courses, and marketing as well, very popular. For those of you interested in taking the LSAT, we have an LSAT prep course, but also if you're interested in grad school, we have a GRE test prep as well. And then our online courses are very diverse. You can find anything from cybersecurity, leadership management, nonprofit management, any type of certification that you can think of, you can find online. And if you're interested in learning more about our workforce development programs or customized trainings, you can find them here in our website. So now what you all came for, practical management, practical project management. So one of the things that we found in our research and doing these training with different partners is that some of the foundations and the basic learnings that a successful project manager has are professional soft skills. And they are categorized as baseline skills, which we'll talk in a little bit, team management skills, meaning the team that you work with, but also leadership skills, how you lead your project, right? Every project has a project lead, and we'll be talking about that. So if you add all these three things up, you become an efficient project manager, meaning you get the project done, right? So the baseline, we have everything from communication, how you communicate with your team, boundaries, how you set boundaries with your teammates and your partners, accountability. If you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it. Emotional intelligence, how do you empathize? How do you understand your teammates and your partners that you're working with to complete the project? And we also have team development. This one's very important to us that when we talk about this, your teammates as your project management team, sometimes they have the training that's required to do project management, sometimes they do not. As project leads, you are responsible to train your staff and your team to ensure that they know what they're doing for the project. And just regular professional development as it is, just team development in general. Do any of you here, there's some project managers in the room, do you empathize with these baseline skills? Yes, all of the above. We do everything. We communicate, we're accountable, we have boundaries, yes. Emotional intelligence. And just keep in mind that these, in themselves, we offer trainings just in emotional intelligence. Like they're deep topics that we could spend all day talking about, but again, this is an overview, right? So the next one, we have team and management. We have skills like negotiation. How do you negotiate with your partners, with your teammates, with your boss, with other project leads, with other project managers? Everything could be a negotiation, if you think about it. Collaboration. This is very important, how you collaborate, not just vertically, but horizontally, right? Vertically within your boss and your team and your staff, but also with your peers, your other project managers. And then facilitation. That's a lot of coordination, a lot of communication, a lot of talking to different partners and keeping track of who said what, they said they're going to do this, facilitation of documents as well. That's very important. You miss one document and then the whole thing's off, right? Conflict management. How do you deal with conflict resolution? Things come up all the time. Issues arise. Those that are business owners may understand that things come up every day, multiple times a day, and you have to resolve them quickly. And then delegation. If you do have a team or your project management team, how do you delegate to your teammates? Do you tell them what to do by ordering them? Or do you kindly ask them to do something? Or do you delegate? They're all different things. And there are different types of delegations. Obviously, there's delegation that you go up and down to your boss and your team, but also horizontal when you delegate to your peers, to your colleagues. And it's not that you're telling them what to do, but it's more of you're delegating a task and ensuring that you work as a team. Again, do you all empathize with all these different skills? You have to apply them all at once. Mostly conflict management, yes, things always come up. And I think that emotional intelligence can really help with that conflict management, right? And leadership, skills, servant leadership, adaptive leadership, flexible leadership style, motivation, ethical management, empowering management. I'm sure most of you here have heard of different leadership styles that your project leads, your directors, your supervisors may have. But I have a question for you all. Is it possible that you as a leader can be more than one? Yes. One day you would have to be in adaptive leadership, in a leadership role, and then next week you'll be a servant leadership, right? And then next month you'll have to be flexible because that's what the project requires of you or your staff or your team. So what is project management? In your own words, no wrong answer. You have a project, right? And you manage the project from beginning to end, right? You manage the project, which is project management. So we got this definition from the Project Management Institute, which is a very well-known institute where people get their certification of project managers. So project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. It's a practice of planning, because it's part of project management, organizing, and executing the tasks needed to turn a brilliant idea into a tangible product, service, or deliverable. So as a business owner, you may have a product, or a service, or a deliverable, whichever, or deliverable could be both. In our business, we do service. We do trainings, right? So we always deliver a training service to our clients or our participants or our partners. But if you are creating a product, you would have to plan, organize, and then execute the tasks to get the product. So the project management methods, these are two of the most common methods used out there by project managers. And it's the waterfall and the agile. Waterfall is known to be on the traditional side, while agile is more on the newer side, more flexible side. Most project managers who are diehard project managers, it's like a cult out there, will argue that agile is the best one. But really, some projects fall under waterfall depending on what the deliverable and outcome is, right? But I wanted to showcase this picture so you can see the difference. This is very linear, very straightforward, not very flexible, not a lot of changes happen here. You can't do this step without this one, and so on and so forth, until you get the outcome, the big outcome. However, agile, very flexible, lots of changes, lots of different cumulative outcomes, small, medium, and then the ultimate outcome, right? And if you have been doing project management officially or unofficially, you'll know that a lot of the work we do is under agile, right? I know that for us, we start something and then, oh, we have to test it and change it. And then, oh, okay, here we go again. And then, oh, here we go again. And then we finally get the outcome we want. And even then, if time and resources allow it, we may do another iteration of this. But it just depends on where you're at with your project, right, or your business. So the actual definition of waterfall or the predictive models, these are detailed long-term projects with a single timeline. They're definitive, rigid project management and team roles, not very flexible, right, very rigid. Changes in deliverables are discouraged and costly, which is very linear, right? You just do it one step at a time and move forward. Fully completed product delivered at the end of the timeline, contract-based approach to scope and requirements, customers typically involved only at the beginning and end of the project. They tell you what they want, you do it, and then you deliver the project. Linear-phased approach creates dependencies, which is very linear, like a waterfall going down. So agile, it's shorter planning based on iterations and multiple deliveries, flexible cross-functional team consumption. A lot of people are involved here, not just within your team, but it's cross-team, so different teams are involved. Changes in deliverables are expected and less impactful. Product delivered in functional stages, collaborative and interactive approach to requirements. Customers involved throughout the sprint. This is preference. Sometimes the customer is involved throughout the project giving feedback. Sometimes the project manager may not choose to do that because then there's a lot of changes involved, right? But this is depending on how your company or your business or your program is run. Concurrent approach seeks to reduce dependencies, right? So all in all, it's more flexible. You can see the different iterations here to get what you want. So integration management. This is important because all of this is integrated in your day-to-day work. This is pretty much what you do every day, but in a project management style. Like number one, identifying and defining your processes, right? And this comes very useful when you're doing your operations. Do you have your processes defined? Well, do you even have processes to begin with? If not, that's a good place to start. Coordinating tasks, resources, and deliverables, working with stakeholders, the people around you, your partners, other teammates, juggling priorities. There's always something that's important, or maybe everything that's important all at once, and then creating plans. You create plans on plans on plans sometimes, and then evaluating and handling work, and then performing integrated change control. So all of this is pretty much what you do on the daily. Those of you that field phone calls, you talk to your stakeholders every day, juggling priorities, deadlines. They move up, they extend, then they're cut short, and all these different things. And then you're always creating plans, right? It doesn't seem to end, like the planning's always ongoing. So the project lifecycle, we got this model from a book called The Unofficial Project Manager, and we really like this model because it really conveys the project lifecycle in a very simple form. You have your scope, which typically it always starts at the beginning, and then you have your planning stage, which includes the engage, the tracking and adapting, and then if you see the arrows, this is constantly changing, and then once you're ready, you close out your project, right? Very simple, not very complicated picture or image, and we like this just for the simplicity of things to understand, right? So we're gonna walk you through the scope, the planning, and the closeout sections of these life cycle throughout this session. So the scope of work, and this is very important when you start a project. This is pretty much the life of the project. Once you outline everything that's required from you and your team and the project itself, that's where you outline what you're going to do, but also what you are not going to do, which is very important. There's this thing called scope creep, where you define your scope, but then you have all these ideas and all these different things, and then it just kind of gets further and further away of what you were intended to do. And all of a sudden you have this really large budget and you're like, oh, that's not what's available. So you have to scale back and remind yourself what your scope really is. So the scope of project is the work that needs to be accomplished to deliver a product, service, or result with the specified features and functions. And this is what the scope, right? You have to specify the features and functions of your project and be very clear and specific on what that is so you avoid scope creep. And there's a lot of time actually here that you spend. Typically, there is a form that you want to fill out. There's some templates out there. The PMI Institute has a lot of different resources, or just online. It could be a page or two on how to define your project and what to include on there, including budget, time frame, when you're going to start, when you're going to finish, check-ins, change management. If something in the project changes, when and how are you going to change it, right? So it's a little time-consuming, TBH, to be honest, but totally worth it when you're actually doing the project, and you can always refer back to your document and see, like, okay, this is the way we're going to do things, and this is what we agreed to. And typically, this form is signed by all parties involved, meaning you agree on the processes that you wrote out in your scope. So the planning, I'll turn over to our staff.
Let's see how I make this work. Hold on. The planning, this is where the fun starts. You already have your scope. You already know what your project is about, what your project is not. But the planning, it's what takes, what makes your project successful. A lack of good planning skills can cause stress for your team or within your team. Can also result in delays, because if you don't account for things, you didn't plan for the delays. This is where you plan for everything that could possibly go wrong. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that and the possible risk. As you can see here during the planning, you see the track, you plan, you engage. And engage, it's through, you have to engage with your team. And if it's a one-man team, you have to engage with your client. And you have to have strong communication skills in order to be engaging with your team or with your project lead, client, depending on the area that you're supervising, but it's important for you to have strong communication skills. Boundaries, you have to ensure that all the soft skills that we talked about in the beginning of our presentation, that you have them to a T, or you have some knowledge of them in order to have strong planning. Section. Then what is included in the planning? Plan and scope, you already know what's your program. I mentioned that. You are planning for risk, what could possibly go wrong. There's actually a formula for schedule for the time that a project should take. And then engaging, we talked about that, but also track and adapt. You have to engage, you have to actually keep following a list of where we're at. People can do it through Gantt charts. We're going to talk about that, but there's different areas that you can see how you're to track your process or your project. Then adapt. Something went wrong. Then how do you adapt? The supplies didn't show up on time. Then it's adding more time. It's adding more money. How do you plan for that? Did you plan for that? Do you need to ask now? Your client, budget now is over. So even taking those items into consideration and then managing. The next one here will be the risk management. This is Blanca.
This one, as Erika mentioned, it's part of the planning and scope, which is this here, right? Plan and scope. And as I mentioned, it's a little time consuming, but totally worth it. The risk management, we decided to keep this one in. It's not a major part of the life cycle. I mean, it is into planning, but I did want to include it because it's important for you to plan or think about everything that could go wrong with your project and or business. You identify the risks as much as possible. I mean, you can't tell the future, right? But you could potentially think about some scenarios that could go wrong. Prioritize the risks and then plan for risks, right? Like with everything, there typically is a form where you can identify the risks, prioritize them based on likelihood of occurrence. Is it likely for this risk to happen? And if so, how likely? Is it very likely or not so likely? And then you rate it. And then that will help you plan for risks. You can pick your top 3 risks and then plan accordingly. And all of this is to do this thing called TAME, where at the end of it, you want to eliminate or remove the risk. But first you have to transfer, you shift the risk to a third party, either your boss or your partner, or sometimes there is no third party, it's just you, right? So you figure it out. You accept the risk and you deal with it, and then you mitigate, you lessen the risk by reducing, and then reducing the probability and or impact, but then always the outcome will be you're trying to eliminate the risk, right? This may be impossible to eliminate. Risks always present themselves, right, in different projects, but this you strive to tame the risk, right? No pun intended, right? You tame the risk a little bit. But we did want to bring this up because it's only 3 steps, but very valuable when you're trying to troubleshoot a business or you're project managing. And if something goes wrong, at least you'll be prepared for it, or at least you can identify the risk and plan accordingly. So now schedule management, before I turn it over to our team. So we do a lot of program management, and we're basing what they're about to talk to on a tool that we use in our department. So that's what this section will be about, and that is monday.com. But there are very different project management tools out there. There's always Excel, there's always different tools. You can use Gantt charts, but we use monday.com as a reference. We're not pushing monday.com, it's just an example. But the way we schedule things on there is what we want you to have, the takeaways, right? Color coding, timelines, assigning people, taking the lead on different tasks, and so on and so forth. So I'll turn it over to our team.
Okay, a project schedule is a timetable that outlines the task. It's just an outline that it's a list, it's a huge list. In our case, to schedule a program, it takes about 75 items to complete a program from start to end. So you just need to know what goes into your project, resources, a timeline. Of course, you need to include time there. It's a key tool in project management that helps ensure the project is completed on time and within budget. Just raise a hand, how many times have you had you're working with a project that is not completed on time and then it goes out of budget? We all go through that. In a way, we all go through that. So project management, what that will do is ensure that we have our to-do list and we complete it on time. We assign budgets, and then here I'll share some information. So it includes the project scope. We spent some time earlier defining what is that. You identify the task. I mentioned that 75 in our case, but do you really have an idea how many tasks does it take for you to complete one of your projects? For some people in our team, they could just, and I'm just going to use an example as this, just order books. For someone, it could be go to the website and find the book. That's one. Then schedule or purchase the books. Receive confirmation or confirm that books have been ordered. So you see something so simple as purchase books can get super crazy. So find a sweet balance of what works for you and your team, and also to ensure that you don't miss anything, because we have people with experience, with many years of experience, and they have everything here, but if that person leaves or the vendor changed, now you don't know and you have to start from scratch. So outline everything as much as possible. Estimate how long it's going to take. That's really important because what if you plan and it's the holidays? And you know holidays usually delay things. So you want to rush through things and then you don't have the information ready by your deadline. So plan for that. Assign tasks and deadlines. Who is assigned to complete each of the tasks? In our team, we have a large group that we can identify now, but it's taking us some time to identify our roles in what we're doing. So identify who's going to be working in your project, including your vendors, because vendors are super important. They're key ingredient into your project success. Then set your milestones. Know by when do you want to celebrate or do something. I think it's important, a milestone can be, celebrate a milestone could be so simple as just send an email to the group. We're here, we're expected to do this by this date, and then everyone has peace of mind. Everyone knows where they're at. Build extra time. In the work that we do, we have back-to-back courses, and there's sometimes that there's not enough time. If there's a bad weather day, if we didn't plan or we didn't leave a gap, then what do we do? Like so it creates chaos. So build an extra time, build the wiggle room for you to work with, and allocate resources. That includes money, that includes people, and that includes skills. Skills are overrated. Sometimes people don't think that skills play a huge role in the project management cycle, but it does. They do. So plan for that. As Blanca mentioned, examples on how can you manage these will be through Gantt charts, a calendar. Jake is going to talk a little bit more about that, and then Kanban.
Yes, so real quickly, how many of you have planned a marketing campaign or have been involved in a marketing campaign? One or two? Okay. So the way I've phrased this, I've been in this field for nearly almost a decade. So what I've learned is that marketing isn't just about creativity. It's also involving a strategy, as we've been talking about schedule management, all that type of thing. So when it comes to a marketing campaign in your small business or your startup, you want to organize your marketing campaign similar to how you strategize your project management. So in terms of marketing, what we use, as Blanca had mentioned, we use Monday.com for our department. However, a calendar as simple as this can be accessible through Microsoft Excel or any other project management tools that you may find. But a calendar helps you organize where your content will be posted or when it's going to be posted. Marketing is all about flexibility. So you always want to be sure that you have some sort of flexibility in your schedule. As you can see here, we use color coding, so that way we know exactly what exactly is going to be posted on this day, or if we need to postpone it for whatever reason, a bad weather day or a cancellation of some sorts, we always have to have some sort of flexibility in our calendar. But this calendar is sort of like my Bible. I go by it every day, I check on it every day, just to be sure that we're still on track, that our campaigns are, flowing functionally. There's no overlap. There's no gap of any sorts. But with your marketing campaigns, it's as simple as what we've been discussing already. It starts from your scope and it ends all the way at a closing. But between there, the content calendar can be your blessing in disguise. If something, abruptly goes wrong or there's something of a delay of some sort, your content calendar can be there to kind of like, okay, I know this is probably going to be delayed. I can extend it or I can push it back. So it really just depends. Like I said, we use Monday.com. This is a graphic here. Like I said, we use color coding. Everything's listed here. But there are other resources you can use from free to low cost, such as Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel is a great one that you can use. It won't be as, like similar like this, but it will be something that you can color code yourself or create from scratch. More or less, just like I said, with everything here, it's the color coding, the organization, your strategy, and also when it comes to the marketing strategy that you're going to put into place, think of also your audience standpoint with your audiences. So here we have all of our content pieces here, but all these content pieces have a strategy to them. So you can't really see them so close, but like last call to action, those are similarly tailored to what specific campaign we're going towards, whether it's for students, faculty, staff, community members. All of this labeling and organization and structure really provides you a seamless transition from when you're planning your marketing campaigns to when they're actually live in the public's eye. So it's just a little side. We wanted to plug this in for marketing purposes, just in case you are overseeing or you're creating marketing campaigns. The marketing, like I said, it's not just about creativity. It's also all about strategy and organization. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over back to Blanca. Yep.
And just to add, this is our example for the calendar for our marketing, but we treat marketing as a project management tool. We literally put deadlines on everything. But our calendar also looks like this for all of our programs that we do and we deliver. Our customized trainings, we have a start and end date, and then everything in between is mapped out through our calendar. There's typically a list that I don't think was included here, but this is just a visual of like something you can use in a calendar. But it's typically a long list of things. And they have, you can see up here, the people. So they're assigned to the different tasks, depending on which task it is, right? So each task has an owner. So it's not just a lead, you have the project lead, but there's an owner for each task. And it could be marketing is Jake, program management is our other PMs, but we also have finance. We also have our assistants that have a role. So every person in our office has a little bubble assigned to each of the tasks. So before we move on, because I know we're running out of time, this is the second phase or part of the phase of the planning in the life cycle. And this is very important because within your team, sometimes you're like an entrepreneur, you're by yourself, right? Excuse me, but you may have partners or funders that want to be accountable or want to keep tabs of your progress, or just your boss in general. You want to keep this engaged and tracking and adapt ongoing, right? Which is why we included the arrows. You want to keep that communication and that tracking and adapting. In one of their trainings, to keep things light, we have the meme of Friends where Ross is with the sofa and he's like, pivot, pivot, pivot. I mean, there's 3 people carrying and one person saying pivot, pivot, right? And that's where you adapt, right? You want to adapt and then engage, and then you do this until you're ready to close out your project. So this is the section that we just talked about, the planning, the tracking, the scheduling, it all goes in here in the middle. So how do you track progress? Everyone has a different way of tracking progress. You do a project status report. Typically, in the project management world, you have staff meetings where you do quick 5-minute updates or 1-hour-long updates. It really just depends. Maybe it's just a 1-pager of a project status update. And those are good because then you can keep track of your progress, right, via documentation. But one thing we want to also share is be proactive rather than react to problems. Proactive people make things happen, right? When you look ahead, when you plan accordingly, when you plan with time. One of the bullet points before is like give yourself ample time to plan. So then you can actually have time and brain space to be proactive, right? Not reactive. There's nothing wrong with being reactive. Sometimes that's what we have to do. But if you could be proactive, things will go a lot smoother than when you're just reacting all the time. So how do you deal with change? There's nothing else but to embrace it, right? Embrace all the change that happens all the time. So closeout is our last phase, and Claudia will be doing this one.
Yes, thank you. All right, so what is the closeout? And let me grab that. It's just one slide, but it works. Thanks. So the closeout phase, if you recall the initial graphic, is the last phase. This phase tends to be undervalued, underrated, and sometimes even completely ignored. And it has to do with several reasons. So many of you, I'm sure, your titles are not project manager, right? No? Yeah. Okay, so you probably wear many different hats in each of your businesses and organizations. And what happens is that as soon as you're about to end the project, you are already starting the next one, or you have several cooking at the same time. So we're like, no, it's good, we're done, we're fine, right? So what happens when we don't close out a program or a project successfully and are very detailed? You miss out on lots of benefits, and that's what I'm going to go through in this short slide. So when we talk about a checklist or having a template, it's a guide for you to remember everything that needs to be done in order for you to close out a project. It's very helpful. And it could be in any format. It could be a Word document, an Excel sheet. In our case, it's on monday.com. And what we do here is that we make sure that we tie all loose ends. We make sure that the deliverables were accomplished or were provided. We agree with our stakeholders that the program has come to an end, or in your case, the project has come to an end. And it's recommended, highly recommended, that this becomes something you do and it's kept in writing. It could be in the same document, it could be via an email, but it's documented that you have agreed that you are coming to the end of the project. Sometimes the deliverables or your outcomes may be different than what you originally planned, but you are agreeing that the project has come to an end and you're closing it. It's also the time to close out any administrative tasks, contracts, invoices, anything that has to do with your financials and commitments. It's time to go over your checklist and make sure that all your commitments have been met. It is also the time to get together with your team. It could be your team of 1, of 2, of 3, and align on what the next steps are going to be. You're coming to a closure, clarify any questions that the team may have to continue to close that project. And it's also the time to gather feedback. Feedback is extremely important, and it involves feedback from your stakeholders. It involves feedback from your team. And you could do that in all sorts of different ways. Through the meetings that you're going to establish, also by collecting feedback through surveys, through social media, formal type of research. It may look different depending on the project, but it's extremely important so that you can also document what could be improved for future projects. So that's a big part of it. And then you archive everything. You archive all the documentation. It helps you not have to reinvent the wheel the next time you're working on a project, knowing what worked, what didn't work, and how you could be better at it. And last but not least, celebrate. So what does this look like? It could be as simple as a thank you email to your team, to your partners, to your vendors, to anyone who was part of the project. Or breakfast tacos, or going out to lunch. You could get creative, but it sends a message of team, building, of appreciation, and the fact that you want to continue to move forward in other projects with them, and most of all, trust in your role as project manager, which was an important piece at the beginning that was touched upon in your leadership skills. So these are all the benefits of closing out the project successfully, and sometimes we do miss to do it in such detail as it requires. So that's all for closeout.
Okay, do you have the clicker? Yeah, I have that. And I will say, those of you that are in construction, you have your punch list right at the end. But you can have a regular checklist. These are all benefits of how you can close out a project. From what we've seen in the field, most partners skip this phase for whatever reason. We highly encourage a strong closeout that really concludes the end of the project and allows you to move on freely to the next project. I know it's hard when you have concurrent projects, right? And you just want to move on. But yes, so I think that's the end. I don't know what's going on. For more information, you can visit our website. There it is. That's our contact information. Feel free to contact us. That's our department email, PEWD@utrgv.edu. Feel free to scan the QR code. And I don't know if there's time for questions or no.
We don't have time for questions, but I really appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to the amazing speech that they had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Yes.